Hello, hello, everybody. It's good to see you all again. I see some familiar faces in the chat window, but if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nicholas. I'm a data scientist at the Data Incubator, and we're the company that partners with World Quant University to bring you this class in data science. So let's get started. Can everyone hear me and see me? How is everybody doing? I see lots of familiar faces. Mukesh is here. Emar is here. Florine is here. Degefa is here. Emmanuel from Kenya. Innocent is here. Wonderful. Natine is here. Great. So if everyone can hear me and see me, let's get started. What are we interested in discussing today? I see some votes for looking at the PW mini project. Emmanuel says it's 7 p.m. where they are. That's much better than when we have our office hours later, and it's like 12 or 10 for a lot of people. So I'm glad some people are able to get things done early today rather than having to stay up late. Except for Kazibwe, where it's 2 a.m. here where they are. So that is very early or late. But I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're committed to doing this course. Okay, so let's get moving. I see some votes for the PW project, and then I see a few votes for, I saw one person mention the VC mini project. What else are you guys interested in discussing today? So I see a lot of votes for PW. Pauline says they're stuck a little bit on the VC mini project, which is fine. I'm going to start today with the PW project because we've kind of been pushing it back for the last couple sessions. So I'm going to start with PW. But Pauline, if you are interested in looking at the VC mini project and how we as a group solve that together, I would recommend looking at our office hours from yesterday and the day before, because we took a deep dive into the VC mini project. But of course, keep watching this first. You might learn some good stuff. Well, see here, Shaban is calling in from Uganda. That's great. All right. Well, I see a lot of PW, PW. So let's jump right in. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I've started here on my server, and then I'll go to the data tree, and then I'll go to Python, mini projects, and oh no, excuse me, I'm in the wrong place. I'll go to data wrangling and then mini projects, and then I'll click on PW. I see Adarsh just joined us. They say they missed yesterday's session. That's no problem. All these sessions are recorded. You can just step back and watch it later. Okay, so let's focus here on the PW mini project for a little bit. So the important thing to remember is that we're dealing with all sorts of data structures. And so this this particular project is really all about how we can deal with complicated data structures. Let me just clear all the output here so I have a clean-ish notebook. Okay, and I'll run the first two cells. I've already downloaded the data, so I won't worry about that. I'll open up the data. It'll take a few seconds for some reason. Okay, and I'll take a look at the scripts. So, just as a refresher, when we're talking about the scripts object, what is the data object? What is this data type? What is the data type of scripts? I see Abdul Rahman has joined us from Sierra Leone. Welcome, Abdul Rahman. This is Abdul Rahman's first time joining us live, so I'm glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. All right, so what is the data type of scripts? It's a list of dictionaries. Adarsh is right. It's a list of dictionaries, and often when we save a list of dictionaries as a in a file, we save it as a JSON object. Pauline has got it. It's a JSON object, which is the same thing in this case as a list of dictionaries. Emar, Pauline, you're both right. Sun Huai says hi. Hello, hello. Good. So we see that each of these dictionaries in this list has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 keys, and then 7 accompanying values for those keys. Some are strings, some are ints, some are floats, but that's what we got. And we have a little description of what is actually associated with each key in terms of the, this is all data from the British National from the National Health Service. And then we also have another list of dictionaries or another JSON object, which is a list of all the medical practices in the National Health Service in the UK. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 keys with 7 accompanying pairs, all of which are strings. And basically it's a code and then the address. All right. So let's start with, we did look at question 1 previously, but I want to do just a quick review again. We didn't do it all, but let's just, so the first thing is, what we wanted to do was, we have all of these different things that we want to pull from our data. We want the sum, we want the mean, standard deviation, etc. And the question is, how do we pull these out of the data? So let's just look at mean very quickly. If I wanted to get the mean of a list of values, and that's what I have here in line 7 is a list of values, I would just take the sum and divide it by the length. So the sum of that list divided by the length of that value. I could also use the mean function, which works on lists. Oh no, excuse me, this is a function that I'm defining. Never mind. Innocent says that there's a problem with the resolution for my video. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. So if anyone else is having problems, it'll be a little bit easier to see. All right. And so the question is then, how do I pull these values, a list of values, out of these dictionaries, which we have here? For example, if I'm looking at the items key, how do I pull that 2 out and that 1 out? And the way to do it is with a list comprehension. And keep in mind that a list comprehensions are going to be very important in this assignment. So it's worth going into them in detail. So the first thing is I have my iterator. I'm going to start at the end of the list comprehension. In this case, it's going to be scripts. So it's going to be this list of dictionaries. And I see Emmanuel has the code already in there, and I agree with it. And I'm just going to go over it so that everyone has the benefit of this knowledge. And then, so I have my scripts, and then I have the sort of iterator value, which as it goes through that list, it will assign each new list of dictionaries. It'll assign each dictionary to the variable script for the process that I'm running. And in this case, the process that I'm running is I'm pulling out the items value. I'm looking to the items key and pulling out that value. And so here, if I look at the first two items in scripts in terms of the dictionaries, I have a 2 and a 1. And if I look at the first two items in this list comprehension, I should have a 2 and a 1. So if I have values equals this list, the next thing I would do is I would take the sum of those values and divide it by the length of those values. And so that's how I would build my mean function. And that's how I would begin to build my describe function. I would first get all my values. If I want the total, I can get the total. And then I can get the mean by using this helper function here, mean. So if I just do describe item, I'll get the total number, and then I'll get the average. And I'll let you guys work in your own time on figuring out how is it that I get these quantiles and the median and the standard deviation. One clue that I would give you is that there are two tools that you can use in the math library, in the math module, and they are ceiling and square root. So keep in mind that those two tools from the math library will help you with the standard deviation and getting the quantiles. All right, I'm going to skip to question 2. Before I start on question 2, are there any questions that I can address regarding question 1? Does anyone have any comments or thoughts about question 1? Adarsh wants to know if we were to extract two values from the data, could we do it? You definitely could. For example, so the way you could do it is, for example, so we have, what's another quantitative field? We have quantity. So the other thing I could do is I could just have a second So I could do it this way, and I could just have a second dictionary, or excuse me, a second list comprehension. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is I could zip this, I could put this in a tuple, and I could do script quantity. Let's see what that looks like. And so that would give me two of the values from here. That might not work for this particular application, but it's definitely possible. Okay, let's go on to question 2. All right, all right. Now, the first thing is, what I need to do is I need to get all the BNF names. BNF names. So what do you guys think is a good way to get all the BNF names? Emmanuel has put some code in here and into the chat, and so I'll just copy and paste it. Let's see what happens. I get an assertion error. Why do you guys think that is? Why am I getting an assertion error? What's the problem here? Ah, okay. So for example, if I look at the length of BNF names, it's actually 382,000. And that's right, because there's repetition in there. And so I'll turn it into a set. And now I'm good to go, because I have the correct length. Good job, guys. Good job, Mukesh. Good job, Florine. Good job, Imar. Good job, Emmanuel. Maggie's here. Hello, Maggie. Glad you could make it. Okay. And another way to do it would be I could put it in between curly braces. And again, I get a set. So that's another way to get your set. All right. Next, I have this code. And what does this line here do? Groups equals, and then it's a dictionary comprehension. What is it that this line produces? This line of code produces? I'll split this cell and I will run it. If I were to look at groups, look at its data type, what would the data type be? Arthur says it would be a set. Mukesh says it would be a set. Take a closer look, guys. You're right that it has the curly braces here, but what is this colon about? Laban is right. It's a dictionary. And it's a dictionary of empty lists. Amar is correct. Adarsh is also correct. And if I take a look at it, this is going to be big, so watch as it explodes here. What I have is I have every item in BNF name, and associated with each key is an empty list. So Emmanuel, you are correct. So now what I need to do is I have my list of scripts. I have my dictionary of groups, and I need to sort all the dictionaries here in scripts into those empty lists that are in my groups dictionary. So I have for script in scripts, the first question is, if I want to add something to a list, what is the method that I use to add it to a list? What is the method that I use to add an item to a list? Adarsh says append, Mukesh says append, and you guys are right. So at some point, I'm going to have to append script. Okay, excellent work, guys. Now, the next thing is, I'm going to append this to somewhere in the groups dictionary. But how do I know which key? How can I find which key this particular script belongs to in the groups dictionary? Where is that information stored in script. Grace has a good point. She says name. Yeah, I want to find the correct name here in the groups dictionary, but I'm looking in the script dictionary. So I'm here looking in script, and I need to find the key. And Emmanuel has posted some more code, and so I'll just add it there. And I'll do BNF name. And so what I'm saying is, look at BNF name. That will give you a name, a string, and then look in the groups dictionary under that string. In the key, in groups, you'll find a list, and I want you to append the script dictionary to the list. So let's run this and see what happens. And let's try one example. I'll do groups and BNF name. I want a good BNF name. Let's see here. Scripts 0, BNF name. So I'll take Cole Maldrux Suspirin no sé qué. I don't know what this is. I'll put this here. And I get a list back. And it's full of dictionaries. And each of them have this particular BNF name. So it looks like this groups dictionary is now properly populated. Before I move on to the next part of question 2, are there any questions about what we've seen so far? While you guys are typing in questions, I see Abdul Rahman has a more broad question. And that broad question is that they read an article that says data science is an extensive field, and there are people that are only good at analysis and other people are good at visualization. And what do I think? I definitely think it's true that there is a lot of specialization in the data science field. That being said, I would say that all data scientists are going to have some proficiency in kind of all of those things. So being able to do data analysis, being able to make data visualizations, and being able to do things like build machine learning models. But you're absolutely right that there definitely is specialization in the workplace. Now, Pauline has a question about SQL and whether I can use a wildcard. Oh, I see what you're saying. So basically, hold on one second. Edit, delete. Oh, no, wait, excuse me. Edit, undo, delete cells, and edit, undo, delete cells. So for example, I have this really long key here. And Pauline wants to know if I can use like a wildcard like this. So anything that starts with Cole Maldrux. Let's find out and see what happens. We get a key error. So in the case of looking up dictionary keys, using wildcards won't work. There are some modules and some places where it does work, but not in the case of looking up dictionary keys. So I hope that answers your question, Pauline. Joseph has a question about what does this part of the code do? That's a great question. So let's work from the inside out. So the first thing that this inner part of the code does is that it goes into the individual dictionary and it looks up the BNF name. In the case of this one dictionary, the BNF name is Colmadrix Suspirer, whatever, whatever, whatever. So this bit of code is, for all intents and purposes, this. And then what happens is we'll look up this key in the groups dictionary. And the groups dictionary has all of the unique values for BNF name and as keys. And then the values associated with each of those keys is paired with an empty list. And so what will happen is that it will find that list and then it will append this entire dictionary to that list. So once this for loop is done running, we'll have a dictionary that has 5,619 keys in it, and each key will be associated with a list that holds a number of these dictionary items. So basically, I'm taking the long list of dictionaries and scripts and dividing it up into several lists based on, grouped by, their BNF name. Does that answer your question, Joseph? Joseph says yes. Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, let's move on. So the next thing that I want to do, now that I've constructed my group dictionary, is that within each of the groups, I want to sum up the items, and then I also want to find the BNF name with the largest sum. So let's build this up from the bottom. The first thing that I want to do is I want to get the sum of all of the dictionaries in a given group. So how would I do that? How would I get the sum? Let's call each of those dictionaries me think about this. So how would I get the sum of each of the items in each group? What are some strategies that people have tried so far? So I want to get a list of items per the BNF name first. So I want all of the BNF names. Well, one thing I could do is I could go to groups.items, and that would return, excuse me, if I make this a list, hold on one second, guys. I seem to have frozen this. Exit page. I had a little crash here. Hold on one second, guys. Let me restart my little kernel. Okay. Apologies for the delay, everyone. All right. Let me just make sure my kernel is running. Okay, great. So one thing that I can do if I want to get a list of all the keys in the dictionary is I can go groups.items. And that'll give me this is it's unhappy with me. All right, everyone bear with me. I just keep crashing my kernel for some reason. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to open up this again. And we're going to start again. Okay. Emmanuel is right that I'm just dealing with some hard trouble here, so I'm not going to deal with that. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to get the sum of something. And let's think about this for a second. I have a dictionary called groups, and in that dictionary, I have several keys, and we'll call each key a group. And each group has a list associated with it. And inside each list is a, let's call it a member dictionary. And so what I want to do is I want to start with the member dictionary items for member in group. And I want to get the sum I want to get the sum of that particular series of items. And then the other thing that I want is I want to get the name, that is to say, the BNF name. And we'll return that as a tuple. And let's see here. I want to get the max of all of those items. So this is what I'm trying to get, but the question is, what is the iterable I'm going to use in my list? So this is going to be a list comprehension. And let's think about it this way. I'm going to delete this. If I take, let's see here, I'm going to call this test dictionary equals scripts 0. So I have my test dictionary here. And there are many ways to access the items in a test dictionary. I can do it by individual key. If I want to see just the keys, excuse me, I can look at just the keys. If I want to look at the values, I can look at just the values, and it returns it as a list. And if I want to look at everything, I can get items. And what items returns to me is a list that's full of tuples. And so what if I took my dictionary remove this, and I created a list. The iterable that we were working for would be groups.items. And I'm missing a bracket here. I'm curious what this will look like. Let's just try it. Let's see if this crashes anything. No, I'm missing invalid syntax. Hold on. What do you guys think? What's my syntax error here? Unexpected EOF while parsing. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, great. I think I just had some mess up there. So I have my max sum for group in name for name. Okay, good. I got my brackets. Okay, so according to my calculation here, I have this as my max item, and then this is the name. What am I missing? I just need to reorder it. Exactly. Now, I just want to show you guys one thing here. The reason that this is out of order is because when I constructed my tuple here, so this is the tuple here, I have the sum first and the name second. And the reason is because when you're using max, it will by default look at the first argument, or rather the first item in the iterable. In this case, the sum. if I were to switch these around and do name, let's see what happens. It's going to give me something completely different because it's looking at PalmDoc in terms of the max. However, what I could do is I could change the key Let me see how I would do this. Key equals 1. Nope, that's not right. Let's just reverse it. One easy way to reverse things is you can actually use the following notation. You can go : -1. So that means iterate through everything, but doing negative, starting, but move backwards. There we go. And let's see if this works. Max item is not defined. Oh wait, I need to assign it. Actually, let's just do it this way. Okay, great. Emmanuel's giving me the wah wah. Well, you know, life is full of little disappointments when you're coding. Okay, so let's take a look at this again. What am I doing in this? This is a bit of a complicated mess. So let's just look and take a look at what I'm doing here. So the first thing is I'm creating a tuple. So let's look just at this tuple. So in this tuple, I have 2 items. The second item is going to be the name. That is to say, the key name that comes out of the group's dictionary. So it's going to be, you know, colmadrolox and all the other drug names, osmoprol. That's the second item in the tuple. The first item is going to be the sum of all of the values that are in the items key for all the members of a given group. So that's the different items that are going to be in my list. In fact, if I removed this max here, I would get a big long list of all 52,000 things, 52,000 tuples. The next part is this. Now, the key to this exercise, the secret, is using the groups.items method, which returns an iterable that has both the keys and the dictionaries for each key in the groups.items. Let me see if I can. I would love to be able to just do this. No, let's see here. List. Okay. And so what it's going to return is the following. It's going to return this name as the first item. And then the second item is going to be a list of the dictionaries that I'm interested in. So here's the name, and here's the group. So in this case, this is the name, and these are the group. And so once I've created this list of tuples, or I should say that, and these are the names in group that are interacting, that I'm using to create my tuples here. Here's the group and here's the name. And then step 3 is I get the max, that is to say the tuple with the largest sum. So in this case, I get it, but it's reversed. And so the way that I make it ordered in the correct way is just using this step-by-step notation by -1, and that gives it to me in the correct order. So that's how I would approach question 2. The secret is this groups.items. That's the sort of beautiful piece here. I wonder if I need to turn it into a list. I wonder if I could just not turn it into a list. I wonder if that would work. Yeah. So I don't even need to turn this into a list because it's already an iterable. Okay. We have about a minute left in office hours. Can I answer any questions for anyone? I hope this was helpful. Kazibwe says it's been, or Brian says it's been interesting. That's great. Arthur says it was 100% good. John wants to know why we import matplotlib at the beginning of each notebooks. That's just a convention we use. Abdul Rahman wants to know what I like most about being a data scientist. Well, it's definitely working with students like you. Innocent says, thank you. Mukesh says, thank you. Okay, everyone, I'm sorry we didn't get to question 3, but we'll meet tomorrow and we can discuss question 3 then. All right, everyone. I'll see you all later. And until then, happy coding. Bye-bye.